So it seems that there's going to be a new Combat Patrol box coming for Chaos Space Marines. This time the full multi-part plastic kit's at a discount, though it could mean that we're saying goodbye to a very good value box. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're talking about the new Combat Patrol Chaos Space Marines box set that's just been revealed on Warhammer Community. As is the pattern with 9th edition, the Combat Patrol boxes have generally tended to follow the Codex releases. It seems that there was at least the intention to try and make every single army have its own discount starter bundle, so it's not too hard to jump into just about any faction. In reality, a fair few of them have had to wait significant amount of time before the Codex release and the Combat Patrollers dropped, say for example like the Grey Knights and Thousand Sons, which didn't come out all that long ago despite their Codex coming out last year. Games Workshop now seems to be unveiling these slightly early, seeing as whenever the Codex leaks out, there's a picture of the Combat Patrol set in each one of those, and I believe that the contents of this one had already been mentioned online, though it is good to have some 100% confirmation. So hopefully this set will come out with the Chaos Space Marine Codex. It does sound like Codex Chaos Space Marines will indeed be the next Codex to drop, now the Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights have gone to pre-order. It looks like Chaos are going to be getting a pretty serious wave of model releases. We've already seen the Possess, Acoustic Cultists, and new Demon Prince. I suspect that there's probably going to be an initial release wave and then a second one, so we don't really know whether the Combat Patrol might make its appearance in the first one or the second. The box is basically going to be a combination of 4 different plastic kits. In the previous one, everything was monopose based on the Shadow Spear things, but this one does appear to have the full fat boxes. There's a Dark Apostle, the Chaos version of the Chaplain with his 2 Dark Disciples. Quite a fun little set of models with that one. I do quite like the Dark Apostle's Burning Book. Then we've got a unit of 10 Legionaries. Always handy to have the standard troops choice for the army in one of these boxes. I feel like having the standard box set revolve around the Legionaries is the right move. The Death Guard and the Thousand Sons just had a massive overload of their followers. Not really too bad if you want to collect that kind of army, but I think it would have been a bit disappointing if they released a Chaos Space Marines box and there'd been just nothing but cultists in it. One bit that I don't think they confirmed in the article is whether or not the Legionaries kit is going to have the new upgrade sprue that they've previewed, the one with the mini psyker and that heavy chainsword and the sergeant weapons. I'd guess that it probably would do. I don't really see why they wouldn't, but at least the models shown off in this picture don't seem to have any of those upgrades present, and they don't seem to have mentioned one way or the other in the article. So I guess that is a question until they actually confirm it or people get their hands on the kit. It would be a bit annoying if they didn't, I think. Next up, we've got the unit of 5 Havocs. Always good for a little bit of heavy weapon fire with the missile launchers, las cannons, and Reaper chain cannons. And finally, the multi-part plastic Hellbrute, the one that you can arm with a hammer and a plasma cannon, as you can see in this picture, or set it up for more range duties or something with missile launchers and las cannons. That one's also at least going to be getting a small update in the next codex, seeing as it's basically the only Dreadnought equivalent left in the game to not have the Duty Eternal special rule where it gets -1 damage. Hopefully they make it somewhat worth fielding. As one of the biggest and nastiest, presumably core units in the codex, I guess there's at least a reasonable chance it could be interesting to put buffs on. As with the other recent Combat Patrol sets, this one should be going for £90, $150 or €120. If you add up the value of the kits at the current prices, then it equates to around about $218 or £130. It means that you get a theoretical discount of around about 31% off buying everything separately. I think that's a fairly standard one by Games Workshop's Combat Patrol boxes, so if you did want to jump into the faction, it certainly doesn't seem like a bad choice, though obviously it might slightly railroad you into a few choices that you might not have picked up otherwise. In general though, I think it really is quite a nice Combat Patrol box. All the models in it are at least relatively recent ones, nothing from beyond the newer age of Chaos Space Marine releases. I believe the Hellbrute is the oldest of them. That one came out in 6th edition if I remember right. At this point we obviously don't know what's going to be the strongest things in games yet, as the codex isn't out. At least we know that the Chaos Marines themselves are getting significantly more dangerous, their second wound, 3 attacks and better leadership, so it seems kind of unlikely that they're going to come out of the codex worse than before. I'd say maybe the biggest disadvantage to getting multiple copies of this box might be the Dark Apostle. Typically I feel that that's usually a unit that you want one of and not more. If you have one, then he's going to be picking the best prayers to the Dark Gods, and it means that if you take a second one, it's usually going to be of less value, so maybe it is a bit of a turn off. I guess you could always potentially convert the second one into a character of a different sort, maybe. Perhaps with a weapon swap and a head swap, he could count for something like a sorcerer, perhaps. In general, I think it's all round a fairly solid box, though it does mean that there's a couple of downsides. It means a rather good start collecting box is going away. and I guess it is a slight shame not to get any of the new models in there, besides presuming the Legionaries upgrade sprue, if they have decided to include it. I guess maybe a few of the super possessed new models are maybe a tiny bit of an acquired taste depending on the legion. Maybe super fluffy for armies like word bearers who go all in on demonic possession, but perhaps not quite as in keeping with a warband that tends to not allow it to succumb to demonic degeneration. So while I do think that the new one is quite a good box, it does mean that the previous Start Collecting box will be going away, and it is indeed already gone from the Games Workshop web store. This was the one with the Venom Crawler, the Obliterators, Greater Possessed, Legionaries, and the Infernal Master, and kind of a shame to say goodbye to it, as it was basically one of the best and cheapest ways to get into Warhammer, getting you somewhere in the region of about 700 points for the cheap cost of £60 or $95 when it was released. The models all are a bit monoposed though, which is a downside, but certainly getting a box or two of these could give you a really quick and solid core to a Chaos Space Marine army, and then you could build out from there. If you are starting Chaos in the near future, then it might not be the worst idea ever to seek one of these out if there's any of them available in local hobby shops. I feel like you're very unlikely to see this amount of points for the amount of money invested for Chaos Marines potentially ever again. It does make me wonder how they might re-release some of these models though. Currently, there aren't any Obliterators, Venom Crawlers, or Masters of Possession available anywhere elsewhere, and as I'm sure Games Workshop aren't removing those from the codex, they'll have to re-release them in some form. Maybe they might do a bit of a repackaging job not so dissimilar from the Dark Imperium box set that we had at the start of 8th edition. We saw individual sprues of that come back for a bit, just so people could get their hands on things like the Primaris Ancient. When they returned though, they did seem to be coming at a significantly worse deal than they were before. Otherwise, I guess it's not beyond the realm of possibility that we see a multi-part plastic Venom Crawler and Obliterators. They'd both be really quite fun, I think. But so far, I don't think that we've heard any rumours that those sort of things are being redone. So I'd say it seems a little bit unlikely, though of course not totally beyond the realm of possibility. Could be quite nice to have a few options for Obliterators besides just the monopose ones, even though I do quite like those models. And it could be an opportunity to give the Venom Crawler a couple of different options rather than the single build that it has at the moment. Finally, for the Greater Possessed in the box, it is rumoured that their datasheet is gone in the new codex, and they'll basically just be the same size as the normal Possessed now, so I guess they'd be looking to be unit fillers in that if you already have some. So anyway, let me know what you think of the new Chaos Space Marine Combat Patrol. Overall, seems pretty simple and effective to me, though at least for me I don't think it's quite on the same as the nice level of the last one. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly keep any news of more Chaos Marine developments coming forward, and I look forward to reviewing the codex in full once it's out. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and you can find that down in the video description below. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.